Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.
My word, that is a performance and a half from England. They've taken 70 balls to make light work of Australia's target of 126. They flexed some serious muscle on the day and beaten the old enemy by 8 wickets to take top spot and put 1 foot in the semi-finals of the World Cup. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by Dell, Mahela, Jayawardene, Ajit, Agarkar, and Tom Moody to look back at that all. Well, we were hoping for one of those creative predictions, weren't we, Tom? Where we'll get to see a contest out of it, but England, my word, they made light work of that.
Yeah, well, they're just showing exactly why they're such a dominant white ball team. You know, we've seen what they're capable of doing in 50 over cricket, and now they're flexing their muscles in the T20 World Cup. They've got an overwhelming amount of depth, both with bat and with ball. And when you've got players like Butler at the top of the order, Roy at the top of the order, and Bairstow, all serious power hitters that they're not concerned about spin, mystery spin, wrist spin. They're not concerned about genuine pace. They're a formidable side.
Yeah, Mahela, when you have that sort of win, there are many ways to chase down 125. When you have that sort of win, what does it do for the dressing room and the team?
Well, I think they're not going away from their tempo. You could say that you could have taken their time, not take risks, but that's how England plays. I mean, they back themselves to play each and every game like that. More often than not, they're going to come off. When they come off, they're going to have those kind of wins, and especially in a group like this, them getting that win, getting that net run rate up, obviously not going to affect them, but it's going to put a lot of other teams under pressure. They're showing that they're capable of playing on any surface and have that firepower to match that. And like Tom said, they got firepower through the entire batting lineup and all options covered. They bat deep, Oakes at 8, Jordan at 9. So the top order is always going to take those risks, and it's not actually risk. They were good cricketing shots, and bowlers are always under pressure, especially in the power play.
We are wondering, Ajit, going into this game, whether we can pass judgment on England. They've only played West Indies and Bangladesh, and I say only by the look of how those two teams look in this group now. After today's performance, it's time we start looking at England as this serious contender to go all the way and looking like the team of this group at least.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm surprised. I mean, someone silly if they're not before this. They are a formidable team. I mean, in spite of missing someone like a Jofra Archer in particular, but even Ben Stokes, those guys, Mark Wood's not in this 11. Uh, they they've got most bases covered. The spin's doing well at the moment. They've got a couple of guys with extra pace, experience in their bowling, and the batting is as destructive as they come. I mean, Josh Butler today almost made it his mission to inflict pain on Australia. 125 is not a big total, but he absolutely smashed Australia today. So England are one of the favourites for this tournament without a doubt.
Myla, this decision to split up Roy and Best to put Butler up there, we know what he can do in that opening position. A lot of opening batters in T20s are dangerous. Something about Butler that just takes it to another level when he's in this sort of mood.
Yeah, definitely. Just the way he plays. I mean, if you see that it's very minimal movement, he just hits straight. He has the option of the scoop. So when you have the option of the scoop, the bowlers are always under pressure which field to go to and how to go about. And at the same time, he's probably one of the best players through the offside as well. He opens himself up and the hands comes through. So he literally hits 260 in the power play. So there's a lot of bowlers are under pressure and spinners as well, because he's a good player of spin. He has the reverse sweep. He comes down and hit. I mean, we saw the way he controlled Sampa. I mean, he never let Sampa settle into that line and length. He took him down. So when you have a guy like Open in the batting, and they know that Bairstow can bat in the middle because he's a very good player of spin, so they've actually tactically set themselves up, and a couple of left-handers there as well, where they keep floating them depending on situations. And mind you, you've got a Livingston there as well, who's sitting there, who's got immense power, who probably they want him to finish matches off. So they're well set up, so they can easily use guys like Roy and Butler to go and take control of that power play.
Would you be too worried with this sort of defeat, Tom, if you were Australia? You've got only West Indies and Bangladesh, again with that asterisk on how they've been in this group to come. Would you say you've had your tough fixtures and you're still in good shape to make the semis, or is this result, created some doubts for you?
Oh, there's no doubt that it's caused some sort of questions around the Australian, number one, their selection, number two, their form, of some of their players, and just I suppose the confidence they have as a group. Yes, I said right at the beginning of the match that I thought Australia were growing in confidence, but that balloon's been popped, within 3 hours, and they've got to now pick themselves up and rebuild. I'm not saying Australia are out of this tournament. They're far from it. And they've got the quality there in that squad to rebound and compete and play semi-finals and possibly finals. But I think today was a real reality check for them with regards to if you are going to compete in this tournament, this is the standard that you need to be meeting. This is the form that you need to be in as a team and you need to be in individually to be able to match it with the best in the world.
Ajit, thoughts on Australia going forward? Is it going to be about tosses, perhaps? If they win more, they'll probably get all right.
No, I mean they've got a couple of wins. I thought this game was more important for Australia than England. England still, I felt, even if they lost, they could bounce back. Australia suddenly now it becomes a little bit more trickier for them. They're still a very good team. I mean, there are lots of match winners in that team. They'll have to bounce back quickly though, because that is a proper thumping from England, and they've again, like Tom said, suddenly we thought they were turning a corner, but it seems like they still are carrying some of the problems that, particularly with their form, that we saw at the start of the tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how. And this is a tricky group. Tosses, maybe conditions, uh, what turns up on the day could very well go against them. And if they're not up for it, they could again find themselves. South Africa now have caught up with them; they're on same points, so there's
Yeah.
pressure on that as well. So, and they still have to play a couple of good teams. So, uh, yeah, it's a tough loss for Australia. They're still in a good position, but the next game clearly becomes even more important now.
Yeah, it's a hammering that sees their net run rate take a beating as well, Mahela. They go out of the top two. South Africa replaced them there. Could that possibly come into it? Looking at what you've seen of these two teams, today was an important day to perhaps just pave the course of this group. On evidence of what you've seen, South Africa, Australia, can you call one between the two? Or is that a mean question to you because I'm not even counting Sri Lanka?
No, I'll take Sri Lanka off for and answer your question. I think it's still an open group because I mean, given the fact that they're playing in different conditions, the conditions also plays a factor. I mean, in Sharjah particularly, it's low scoring. The net run rates are going to be different. Off of my head, I don't know how the games that each team has in Sharjah, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are different venues. So I think South Africa, having beaten Sri Lanka, they probably feel that okay, they've got themselves another opportunity. They still got to go up against England. So Australia would be thinking we need to beat West Indies and Bangladesh, but it's not going to be easy. I mean, West Indies is going to turn up on one of these days and just take one of the teams down quite easily. They're a very formidable unit. It's just that they haven't been able to hit their track. So this group is quite interesting the way things are going. So, but England, I mean, they've shown the quality that they've got, so they're going to probably cruise through. But South Africa, the middle order, the top order is still not firing. Bowling seems to be okay. Australia still have the problems of role identification. Who's going to take the charge, who's going to bat through the innings, how they're going to structure that. So all those questions needs to be asked in the next game. The big games are the next two games for all these teams.
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, England now go to Sharjah for two games. Australia do not go to Sharjah at all. They don't play at Sharjah in the Super 12 stage, and that's one apiece for everybody else. Tom, can we call a team at this point, along with England, to make the semi-finals from this group?
I don't think you can. I think it's impossible. I think what one point you made there about Australia not going to Sharjah, I think that's an absolute bonus for Australia because I think those conditions will suffocate Australia. They'd struggle there. So it's a blessing they don't have to go there. But yeah, look, it's absolutely wide open now. Anyone can join England in that group, and and it could be determined by conditions, and we might find it just being a net run rate situation at the end.
All right. Well, let's leave it there, shall we? The show's almost gone on longer than the English chase. I never like it when that happens. So we will leave it here on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by Dell. Mahela and Tom won't be with us together until the semi-final. So let me see if either of one of them are willing to put their necks out and call a Pakistan-England final just yet. Anyone willing to make a bold prediction at what is the 25th and 26th game of the Super 12s? Tom?
Ronald, stop trying to fish.
Mahela?
It's still too early. I mean, India and New Zealand have only played one game in that group. Let them at least play one game, so some clarity. It's a fascinating. Some teams have played 3 games, some teams have played 1 game. So let's get to a balance and ask these questions.
Yeah, well, I may not need you guys if I know the result of the India-New Zealand game tomorrow. So I'm just trying my luck. But anyway, let's leave it there. Ajit Agarkar, I will see you tomorrow for India-New Zealand. So to Tom Moody, Mahela, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Plenty more coming up on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by Dell. We've seen the way Group 1, you can make your own decisions on where Group 1 is heading now in a massive game for India and New Zealand. So join us on Sunday. We'll be live, of course, for Afghanistan versus Namibia before that, and then India, New Zealand right through the day. See you tomorrow.
Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more, Dell.